Hey everyone, Eric Wood from Woodcraft Technologies here. This is going to be part one of a multi-part series we're going to do this year as we build our 2021 ZX10. We're going to talk about some riding stuff, we're going to talk about some setup stuff, and most importantly, we're going to talk about a lot of the parts that we have and how we put them on and what we're doing and why. So this part one is going to cover one of the very first things we do when we start with a brand new motorcycle, and that is install our swing arm spools. So as you can see, our brand new ZX10 has been stripped down, bodywork is off being built at Armor Bodies, and we're just getting ready to start putting a few things on this. And first thing I always got to do when I start this out is get on some swing arm spools so we can put the thing in a stand and have it supported properly while we're doing that. Now, as you can see, our ZX10 has a very traditional kind of swing arm spool setup. It's got a little cast boss on the bottom of the swing arm there. Tapped with 8mm threads, so that works out for regular swing arm spools and for the Superbike lifters as well. For our particular purpose here, I prefer the Superbike lifters whenever possible because, as you'll see, they are quite a bit more tucked out of the way, less prone to damage, and they also allow us to use a Superbike style stand, which has considerably less lift effort. So we'll show you that in just a minute. We've got a couple basic options for putting this thing on. We have our basic regular lifter spools. These are the slider type. We make these in both with the sliders and with the standard aluminum style. And then you've got the Superbike lifters, which are right here. And as we get this next to the swing arm itself, you'll be able to see the difference between the two of these things and why you might choose one or the other. Swing arm, that boss being nice and flush with it, there's a couple different options here. We can install this slider right here, lifter, and we've got a nice spot here. The only downside to this, and this has been the traditional thing that people have done for a long time, is that these sliders have a lot of leverage. If you crash on these things or bend on them, you can potentially damage the swing arm, break these tabs, that kind of thing. ZX10s haven't been too bad in the past, but some of the old GSXRs and that kind of thing had some very weak spots right here and would tend to break. Some bikes like Yamaha R6s have a 6mm boss, which is a pro from one point in that it has less damage to the swing arm. Those are typically mounted in this section of the swing arm. Yamaha will tap a hole right in there. But you know, the 6mm bolts being small can break. Pros and cons there. You lose the swing arm spool, but you don't damage the swing arm itself. The option that I tend to prefer is the Superbike lifter, because when you put this on the same motorcycle, you can see that this thing being in there like that, it ends up being really nice and tight to the swing arm. And it tends to be in a natural protected state, a little more aerodynamic. And because this lift spot is lower here, we can adjust our adjustable height Woodcraft stand so that it's really easy to lift. So we'll show you how this particular installation is done. To install the typical slider spool for the swing arm, actually really simply, we just take and put a little bit of Loctite right there, a little dab of blue Loctite on that 8mm threads, and take them and thread them right in the swing arm right there, piece of cake. All right, so the first step when we're installing our Superbike lifter is to install the little eccentric stop that goes on the back side of this thing. When this is installed in the motorcycle, it's going to get trapped by the bolt right here and sit against the bottom of the swing arm right here. And what the stop does on the other side is it provides two places for support right here, so it will not have a tendency to rock. It stays totally stable on your motorcycle when you've got it on there. So we take the little eccentric offset and the bolt right here, and we will grab some of our trusty blue Loctite right here. Just throw a dab on the threads, just like that. And then simply thread it in the back side. Now we'll do this pretty quickly so Loctite doesn't set up. But you'll see as we thread this on there that this eccentric now has the ability to adjust and provide for a nice tight fit. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this on the motorcycle itself, and then we're going to lock it in place by putting this eccentric in the right place and then snug this right down. So you can see, as we go to put this on there, there's a couple different ways to do this. We've got our insert, which is adjustable, allows you to use the same part on different motorcycles. And we can either use a standard flathead bolt, which will just attach that right on there, or we can put a slider puck base on here. And what I prefer to do with these is I like to use these optional slider pucks on this as well. And that provides a little bit of extra protection for the swing arm, as this will attach right there when we get this on there. So in order to have the ability to put this on there, we will instead use this little slider base here. And this fits right in that countersunk hole. We drop it in with a little bit of Loctite and call it good. So what we're going to do is drop this in here, drop our bolt in there, grab our little 5mm T-wrench, and we will thread that right on there. And the hole in this particular part right here, I want to make sure that the hole is straight up and down so that when this D10 pin goes in, it stays out of the way of that hook area. So we take our puck. You take the puck, there's two sides, one with a little dot on it and one without. The dot is the side that the ball goes on, right? So we're going to take that and put that down like that. And then we'll take our D10 pin and we'll run it straight down through there. And we're totally good to go. We've got a nice protection for our brand new Superbike lifter, that slider puck, and it stays completely clear of that area that you need for the lifter for the stands. We'll show you that in just a minute. Last order of operations to make sure our little eccentric there is completely tight and nice against the swing arm. So we've got this all snugged up by hand. There's a little drop of Loctite on that bolt, and we take our Allen wrench and just kind of give it that last little bit of snug, and we're good to go. The whole setup is now ready to go. Nice and aerodynamic and keeps it out of the way, well protected with the spool, and you'll see how easy that thing lifts when we get a chance to try this out with the stand in just a minute. Now, one really important note when you're putting spools or anything with a slider puck on a Superbike lifter on a Kawasaki ZX10s in particular, I've seen this with ZX6s as well. The OEM mufflers are extremely close to the swing arm. So before you go installing this on your particular motorcycle, if you're going to keep the stock exhaust, you have to be cognizant that on most Kawasaki's, this will cause contact. Take a look. As we get close and you look, you can see that this puck right here is in line with this exhaust system. So I put this on because I know I'm replacing it with a Hindle muffler and I'll have plenty of clearance. But as we get through the motion here, you'll see that it doesn't take very much travel of the suspension before this exhaust system would hit any traditional swing arm spool or slider puck. So the Superbike slider, if I was going to use the stock exhaust system on this motorcycle, I would not install the slider puck. I would do the standard Superbike lifter without the puck. That way you make sure you keep your stock exhaust system well intact. And if you've got your aftermarket exhaust system, make sure you check the clearance to that puck before you install that and go out and ride it. Important tip to know. Now for a look at these all the way around. Looking good. So the best part about Superbike lifters, in addition to their better aerodynamics and being a lot less prone to damage, is that, man, it is so easy to lift the bike up when you're done. So after you get in there, you just take your bike, set the stand on a little hook, and then one hand, boom. It's so easy. Looking forward to going on to part 2 when we start to install our clip-ons on the ZX10.